I still remember the day my son told me he was getting married. It was a chilly spring morning, the kind where sunlight looks softer and the coffee tastes a little warmer. He called me from his car, excitement spilling out of his voice. "Mom," he said, "I proposed to her last night." For a moment I couldn't speak. I just smiled at the sound of his happiness. That's all a mother ever really wants, to know her child has found love, that he's safe, that someone will hold him when she no longer can. Her name was Emily. I'd met her once before. Quiet, polite, the kind of girl who smiled more with her eyes than her lips. She worked at a small design firm downtown. From the start, I could tell she was careful about her words, thoughtful, almost cautious. I told myself that was a good thing. My son Daniel was the opposite. Loud, spontaneous, a little messy with his feelings. Maybe she balanced him out. When they got engaged, I helped him pick the ring. We spent hours at the little jewelry shop near the river, Daniel holding each ring up to the light, unsure which one felt right. He finally chose a simple gold band with a single diamond. "She's not flashy," he'd said. "She likes things that feel honest." I liked that answer. I liked who he was when he talked about her. The wedding was beautiful. They held it in the backyard of her parents' house, all white flowers and wooden chairs, a small band playing soft jazz. I wore a pale blue dress, the one Daniel said brought out my eyes. During the ceremony, when the pastor asked who gives this woman away, Emily's father squeezed her hand and said, "We do." I remember wondering if anyone would ever ask the same for my son. But of course, that's not how it goes for the mother of the groom. We stand quietly, smiling from our seat, clapping when the vows are said. We love from a distance. That night, as they danced under the string lights, I thought about how grown he looked. His hand rested gently on her waist, his smile soft and steady. For a brief second, I saw the little boy who used to run to me after soccer practice, grass stains on his knees, asking if dinner was ready. I blinked and there he was, a man, someone's husband. I was happy. I really was, but happiness can be complicated. Sometimes it comes wrapped in something that feels like loss. After the wedding, they moved into a small house about 30 minutes away. I tried not to call too much. I didn't want to be that mother, the one who hovers, who interferes. But the silence in my house grew louder each week. The evenings felt longer. I'd make too much dinner and end up eating alone, telling myself I'd bring the leftovers to them next time I visited. The first few months were lovely. Emily would call me sometimes, asking for recipes or gardening tips. We'd chat about the weather, their new furniture, little things. I thought we were building something, a quiet friendship, maybe even closeness. But as time went on, those calls became less frequent. Texts went unanswered for days. When I did visit, the conversations felt shorter, thinner somehow. One Sunday afternoon, I dropped by with a homemade pie. Emily opened the door with a polite smile. "Oh, hi. I wish you'd called first. We're actually heading out soon." Her voice wasn't rude, but it wasn't warm either. I stood there for a moment, holding the pie awkwardly between us. "I just thought I'd surprise you," I said with a laugh that didn't sound like mine. She hesitated, then took the pie and thanked me. "I'll tell Daniel you stopped by." Driving home that day, I kept thinking maybe I had crossed some line I didn't see. Maybe young couples needed space. Maybe my version of love felt like intrusion to them. Still, the quiet that followed was heavy. It filled every corner of my small living room. Daniel called a few days later. His voice was kind but distracted. "Mom, you don't have to drive over so much. Emily just likes to plan things ahead, you know." I said I understood. I really did. But a part of me wished he'd said, "She was happy you came." He didn't. Time kept moving. Birthdays, holidays, they came and went like waves. I learned to stop expecting invitations. I'd send gifts in the mail instead. Cards with short notes. "Proud of you. Miss you both." Sometimes I'd get a thank you text. Sometimes nothing at all. One Christmas, Daniel called to say they were spending the holiday with her family out of state. "We'll visit after New Year's, okay?" I said, "Of course," and smiled through the phone, even though no one could see it. That night, I sat by the window watching snow fall on the streetlights. I made hot cocoa for one. It wasn't dramatic, this growing distance. There were no arguments, no big betrayals, just a slow, steady fading. Like a photograph losing color with time. When they finally did visit, something had shifted. Emily was polite, but I could sense the wall between us. Even Daniel seemed cautious, careful with his words, as if afraid to say the wrong thing. We had dinner together. I made his favorite, roast chicken with rosemary and mashed potatoes. He said it was good, but he didn't finish his plate. They left early, saying they had errands in the morning. When I closed the door behind them, the house felt colder than it had in years. I started noticing little things after that. He stopped calling me Mom as often. Sometimes it was just, hey, or hi there. It sounds small, but words carry weight when you've spent a lifetime listening to them. He sounded formal, like a guest trying to be polite in someone else's home. A few months later, he called to tell me Emily was pregnant. I could hear the joy in his voice. "You're going to be a grandma," he said. My heart leapt. I cried a little, quietly, so he wouldn't notice. "That's wonderful," I told him. "I can't wait to meet the baby." He promised I'd be the first to know when the time came. But when their daughter Lily was born, I found out 2 days later through a picture he sent over text. A blurry hospital photo, his tired smile beside Emily's. I stared at the image for a long time, wondering why no one had called. I told myself maybe they were overwhelmed, busy, adjusting. Still, it stung. When I finally met Lily, she was 3 weeks old. I brought a basket of baby clothes and a blanket I'd knitted. Emily greeted me at the door, her hair messy, eyes tired. I could tell she'd been through a lot. She let me hold the baby, just for a few minutes. Lily was perfect, soft and warm, her tiny hand curling around my finger. My heart felt full again, like someone had opened a window inside me. But Emily took her back quickly, saying Lily needed to feed. I nodded, pretending not to notice the way she avoided my eyes. After that visit, I didn't see much of them. Pictures came through occasionally. Birthdays, first steps, family trips. I wasn't in any of them. It wasn't anyone's fault, not really. Life has a way of stretching people thin, but sometimes I'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering when exactly I'd become a visitor in my own family's story. Years passed. Lily started school. Daniel changed jobs. They bought a bigger house. I learned about most of it through social media. I'd see pictures of them at the park or on vacations, and my heart would ache in that quiet, dull way you can't really describe to anyone. It's not jealousy. It's just absence. One afternoon, I ran into Daniel at the grocery store. He was pushing a cart filled with snacks and cereal boxes. He looked surprised to see me. "Mom." "Hey," he said, giving me a quick hug. "You should have called. We could have caught up properly." I smiled and told him I was just grabbing milk. I asked how Emily and Lily were. He said they were fine, busy as always. The conversation lasted maybe 5 minutes before he looked at his watch and said he had to go. As I watched him walk away, I realized how much taller he seemed, how adult. But there was something else, a space between us I didn't know how to cross anymore. I went home and cried that night. Not loudly, just the kind of crying where your chest tightens, and tears roll down quietly, without sound. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even sad in the sharp way you feel after a loss. It was softer, like an ache that had lived there too long to hurt anymore. The years slipped by quietly. I learned to fill my days, volunteering at the library, tending my garden, baking bread on weekends. People told me I had such a peaceful life. I smiled and agreed, though deep down I knew peace and loneliness sometimes wear the same face. Then, one afternoon, Daniel called. "Mom," he said, "Emily's parents are moving closer, so we might need to rearrange some holidays this year." I said that was fine. Holidays had long stopped being about dates for me. I celebrated whenever someone remembered to visit. But something in his voice that day felt distant. Practiced, even. I hung up the phone and sat there, staring at the empty chair across from me. That's when it really hit me. I'd become a stranger. Not out of conflict, but out of quiet neglect. Out of time. Out of change. Months later, I got a letter in the mail, from Emily. I almost didn't open it, thinking it might be an invitation or announcement. But it was a short note. She thanked me for being understanding, for giving them space. She wrote that she knew I probably wished things were different, but she wanted me to know they appreciated me. It was kind, but it read like something you'd write to a distant relative, not family. Still, I kept it in a drawer. It was something. One evening, there was a knock at my door. It was Lily, older now, maybe 10 or 11. She was holding a school project about family history. Mom said I should ask you about our family, she said shyly. I invited her in, made her cocoa, and we spent hours talking about old photos, stories from when Daniel was little, how he once tried to build a fort in the backyard and flooded the hose. She laughed until she cried. For those few hours, the house felt alive again. Before she left, she hugged me and said, "You're funny, Grandma. I wish we saw you more." My heart broke and healed all at once. After that, visits became a bit more frequent, short but real. Lily would come by sometimes after school or call me to help with her homework. I didn't push for more. I learned that love, at this stage of life, is quiet, patient, waiting for small moments instead of grand gestures. Years later, when Daniel called to tell me Emily's mother had passed away, I could hear something different in his voice, a softness I hadn't heard in years. "I think we took some things for granted," he said quietly. I didn't say anything. I just listened. A few weeks after the funeral, Daniel and Emily came to visit. No reason, no occasion, just a visit. Emily hugged me at the door. It wasn't stiff this time. Her eyes looked tired but kind. "Lily's been asking to come more often," she said. "I think we've all been too busy for the wrong things." We had tea together. No awkwardness, no walls, just silence and comfort. As the evening light poured through the window, Daniel looked around my little house and smiled. "I remember this place being bigger," he said. I laughed. "That's because you were smaller. We talked for hours, about life, about Lily, about nothing and everything." When they left that night, Emily hugged me again and whispered, "Thank you for never giving up on us." After they drove away, I stood by the window watching their car disappear down the street. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel alone. I felt steady. Families change. Love changes. People drift and return. That's just life. Messy, quiet, unpredictable. Now, when I think back to that day Daniel got married, I don't feel sadness anymore. Just gratitude, because even though I became a stranger for a while, I was never forgotten. I was just waiting, like a light left on in the hallway, guiding them home when they were ready. And when they finally came back, I was still here. That's what mothers do. We stay.